Welcome back. Since you've already knocked out the course introduction, we're going to jump straight into the deep end with Module 1. Today's explainer is a dedicated journey into the incredibly complex, honestly fascinating world of biologics and product quality. We're going to define exactly what these medicines are, why their massive molecular structures set them apart from everyday drugs, and how we establish the strict quality rules that ultimately keep patients safe. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the broad biologics landscape, compare them to small molecules, and check out the major modalities. Then we'll really zoom in on molecular complexity and critical quality attributes before tying the whole shebang together with the North Lake case study. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the biologics landscape. So what exactly is a biologic? Well, at their absolute core, biologics are medicinal products derived from or produced using living organisms or cells. We are talking about a massive, incredibly diverse category here. It spans everything from monoclonal antibodies and recombinant proteins to vaccines and even advanced cell and gene therapies. And because they rely on living systems, there's a simple rule of thumb you need to remember. Their manufacturing complexity scales right alongside their massive molecular size. This isn't just trivia, you know? This underlying reality dictates whether the medicine actually works once it's inside the patient's body. Moving right along to Section 2, let's stack them up against traditional drugs, small molecules versus biologics. This comparison right here is a real game changer for understanding just how wild these medicines are. Think of a traditional small molecule drug, like your everyday aspirin, as a standard bicycle. It has a super simple, clearly defined chemical formula, and every single bike that rolls off the line is totally identical. To put that into perspective, aspirin has a molecular weight of about 180 daltons. A biologic, on the other hand, it's closer to 150,000 daltons. It is literally a massive commercial airliner. Its structure is incredibly intricate, relying on complex folding and modifications, and because of this, biologics have inherent variability. They aren't perfectly identical every single time, and they are incredibly sensitive to even tiny process changes. You can't just run a simple chemical test here. You have to define and monitor highly rigorous quality attributes to ensure you're building a safe airliner every single time. Okay, Section 3. Let's look at the major modalities out there. The sheer diversity of this fleet is pretty amazing. And you've got to remember, the choice of modality entirely dictates where your medicine actually comes from. Take monoclonal antibodies. These are engineered proteins designed to bind to a target with laser-like specificity. They are primarily produced by mammalian cell cultures, like Chinese hamster ovary or CHO cells. Recombinant proteins? Well, they might use mammalian, microbial, or even yeast cells. Vaccines use totally distinct cell, egg, or vector platforms. And then you have plasma-derived products like clotting factors, which aren't expressed in engineered cells at all. They are fractionated directly from pooled human plasma. Let's dig a little deeper into the structure. Section 4, molecular complexity. Let's look at how these massive molecules are actually built, literally step by step. Step 1 is just your basic primary structure, the linear sequence of amino acids. Step 2 brings in the secondary and tertiary structure, which is the local folding and that crucial 3D shape. Step 3 is the quaternary structure, where multiple chains actually assemble together into a functional unit. But step 4 is where the real magic happens. This is the post-translational modifications, or PTMs. Take glycosylation, for example, the attachment of sugar structures to the protein. This is absolutely not just biological decoration. It dictates the molecule's stability, its biological activity, and exactly how a patient's immune system is going to react to it. Now, because we're using living, breathing cells to build these molecules, no two batches are ever perfectly 100% uniform. It's just a fact of biology. We get what we call inherent heterogeneity. We see charge variants, which are just subtle differences in surface charge. We see aggregation, where molecules clump together, which, by the way, is a serious risk because it can trigger a nasty immune response. We have to constantly monitor for visible or subvisible particles, and ultimately, we have to measure if the molecule actually performs its intended biological activity. I really want to stress this point. Heterogeneity isn't a flaw, it's a reality. We don't try to completely eliminate it. Instead, we strictly control its acceptable range. Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, critical quality attributes. So if these things are naturally variable, how on earth do we control them? Well, we manage this natural variability through 5 absolute core pillars of quality. First up, identity, confirming we actually have the intended molecule. Next is purity, ensuring the total absence of unwanted impurities, like those dangerous aggregates we just talked about. Then there's potency, a hard quantitative measure of the product's biological activity. Safety is next, which means complete freedom from harmful contaminants. And finally, strength, ensuring the exact, correct concentration per dose. Literally every quality check we do revolves around these 5 pillars.
Let's see this in action. Section 6, the North Lake case study.
Let's ground all this theory in a real-world scenario with a fictional company we'll call North Lake Biologics. Let's say North Lake is developing a brand new monoclonal antibody to target a specific cell surface receptor. They know their product must do 3 things. It has to bind its target consistently to actually work, it must remain completely free of visible particles, and it has to be accurately dosed. Notice how their initial choice of a monoclonal antibody immediately cascades down and dictates exactly what quality attributes they're going to have to rigorously control. To figure out their exact quality standards, North Lake's developers have to ask themselves one absolutely crucial guiding question. Which properties, if they drifted out of range, would directly threaten patient safety or efficacy? Before you can label any attribute as critical, you must be able to prove that if it drifts, it plausibly harms the patient. So when they actually apply that question, North Lake nails down their specific critical quality attributes, or CQAs. Target binding? Yeah, that is definitely critical. That's their potency. Aggregation limits are also critical because of that nasty immunogenicity risk we mentioned, so that's purity. Particulate matter is a direct threat to the patient, that's safety. And accurate concentration is essential for dosing them correctly, that's strength. But notice what isn't strictly critical here, minor charge variant shifts, assuming they stay within a previously validated range. Now, North Lake is absolutely still going to monitor them, but they just carry a much lower direct risk compared to, say, losing target binding altogether. The molecule's physical reality dictates the mandatory rules for its release. As we wrap up this explainer on biologics, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. We've seen today that these are large, living molecules. They are beautifully complex, but inherently variable by design. So the question you've got to carry forward is this. If heterogeneity is just an unavoidable reality of biology, how will you design your quality controls to ensure this living medicine remains perfectly safe and incredibly effective for every single patient, every single time? Think on that for a bit, and I'll see you in the next explainer.